Well, if I'd have known it was Stewardship Sunday, I'd have gone golfing.
Come on, Samuel. It's too cold to go golfing, especially this time of the morning.
Hey, it's never too cold to golf. I can just throw on some winter gloves, some long johns, I'm set. Besides, the cold wouldn't be as painful as what we're going to have to listen to sitting here.
Oh, come on, Sam. Sitting through a 1-hour church service is not going to kill you.
Well, it might, especially if the pastor talks about money. That's all they ever seem to talk about, money.
Oh, Sam, it's twice a year. One Sunday for stewardship and one Sunday for the Capital Fund Drive.
Then, why did we hear about money last Sunday?
Last Sunday?
Yeah.
Ah, that was the youth telling us about a bake sale they're going to have in 2 weeks. They're trying to raise money to go to Green Bay.
Hey, I told you never to mention them in my presence again.
The youth? What did the youth ever do to you?
No, not the youth. Jeez. I'm talking about Green Bay.
Oh.
Still trying to get over that season loss to the Packers at U.S. Bank Stadium. Humiliating. And the officiating? Horrible.
Wish you would not get so worked out about those Vikings. You're going to have a coronary someday, Sam. Haven't you learned by now that you can't invest your emotions too much on them?
Great!
What now?
They put in a chart to say what we have to give according to our income. Oh, let's pour on a little more Lutheran guilt about giving, huh? And then we don't feel guilty enough already, they have to remind us with a chart.
Since when have you ever had Lutheran guilt, Sam? Why are you being such a curmudgeon today?
I'm not crabby. I just happen to feel strongly about certain things. Look, I think it's high time they put a chart in the bulletin telling us what they do with the money we give.
What? You don't trust the people to use the money that we've given them? Ugh, and you have a short memory. We have an annual meeting where they give us the budget and they show us where every penny goes. It's out there for everybody. It's not hidden. You just are always thinking that there's something rotten in the state of Denmark.
Rotten in what?
Denmark. Shakespeare, Hamlet, there's something rotten in the state of Denmark.
Huh?
It's an expression that means you aren't trusting people or you're suspicious of what they're doing. Don't tell me you've never heard of that statement.
Well, why can't you just say it in plain English? You know, say what you mean.
I thought I was using plain English. You know what? I'm starting to think there's something rotten in this pew.
Now, what's that supposed to mean?
Well, I'm beginning to be a little suspicious of you. You know, all this negativity, ever since Pastor Louise started, you've done nothing but badmouth her and badmouth the church. You never used to talk like that when you were on church council.
Well, a lot has changed since then.
Aha! I'm beginning to understand. You don't like change.
You're right. I don't care much for change, especially in the church. You'd think the church would be the one place you can count on where things can stay the same. Everything else in the world is changing. This should be a sanctuary, away from the world and all the changes.
That's a little ironic, don't you think?
What do you mean?
That the church should never change. I mean, Christianity is built on change. A change of heart, a change of mind, a change in our lives. We have a whole new self as Christians.
Well, aren't we just full of theology?
I remember talking about this with Pastor Louise in one of the Bible studies. You know what? You should go to Bible study. You might learn something.
I'm not so sure. It might change me. I might turn into something I don't like. Besides, I've got enough on my plate, and going to Bible study isn't on it.
You know, since I've gone to Bible study, I think I've changed. You know, I've learned that as Christians, we never, ever fully arrive. We're constantly changing. And I've also learned that things change more than they stay the same.
You know, you make it sound like all change is good. And if that were true, then why, with all the changes, doesn't the world seem better?
I wouldn't say all change is good. I'm just saying that unless we change and adapt to what's going on around us, we're going to get left behind. I mean, look at your mother, Ethel. You know, she's seen a lot of changes in her life. 95 years, you know, you don't see her riding in a horse and buggy.
Don't be silly about it. Of course she doesn't ride around in a horse and buggy.
Well, that's just my point. Ethel's had to face a lot of changes in her life, and she has adapted to them. Now, not all those changes have been good. I mean, she lost her husband, your father. She had to learn a life alone, and that was hard. But you know what? Through that, she became a much stronger person.
It's true, but I wouldn't say she's in the greatest shape.
Well, she's physically frail, but emotionally and spiritually, she's a very strong person. You know, she had to make that transition. She'd lived in that home for over 40 years, and when she had to move to the nursing home, she did it.
You know, maybe that's where I get being ornery from her, huh?
All right, let me tell you, your mother is strong. You're stubborn.
I resemble that remark.
Now you're admitting it. That's a change.
There you go with the change thing again.
Okay, Sam, what do you think would happen if everything always stayed the same?
I'd be okay with that, as long as things didn't change.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. That would mean sick people would always be sick. Wars would never cease. There'd never ever be anything new invented. Nobody would ever change bad habits. Yeah? It's like I was talking about earlier, about Christianity. At the heart of Christianity is Christ's life and his death and his resurrection. And that brought a change to the whole world and a change to our individual lives. We've all become new creations through Christ.
Looks like Pastor Louise is getting ready to start the service. Maybe as part of her announcements today, she'll let us have it and tell us we're not giving enough money to the church. That'd be a change from the usual, you know, the opening monologue, welcome to the service, come after service for cookies and coffee.
You know what? That might be a very challenging kind of change, especially for those who are still thinking about giving nothing to the church but their change.